Okay, how are we doing, everybody? That's as George would say, as he would say, as he did say, as he will say. Last show of the decade, and big deal. I mean, welcome aboard, everybody. Welcome aboard on the last show of the decade. Is that good or is that bad? I don't even know. All I know is it is what it is, and that's what it is, said Popeye the Sailor Man, and we are here for the next couple of minutes, and let's see what's going on in Major League Baseball and all the other stuff, and I'll even tell you what's going to happen next year. Good morning to Big Al. Dale is here. George, I put a message up in the chat room for you. Take care. There he is. There he is, the guy who drove miles just to shake our hands, and that is Leonard Donaldson. We love you, Leonard Donaldson. Good morning. Ray K, a newcomer to the chat room. Nice to have you aboard, Ray K. Ray K, somebody make sure that Ray K has sound, okay? Make sure Ray K has sound. Andrea's not around right now, so I can't judge if the sound is good, but I assume that it is, okay? Anybody got good sound, bad sound, mediocre sound? I just want to know if you can hear me. And there he is, Unholy Toledo. They're sitting in his backyard. That's right. That's Unholy Toledo for you. All right, so let's get right into the J.R. Matz is here. Good, we got some Cincinnati stuff going on here. Do we have sound? Everybody have sound? All right, there you go. Let's get right into it. And, of course, right off the bat, I just want to talk about the All-Star, this All-Star Hall of Fame thing. It's driving me crazy. The average ballot last year included 8 names, and nearly 43% of the voters used all 10 of their allotted votes. So there's a good chance at least one more nominee will make the cut, and this year's favorite is Larry Walker. Larry Walker. He had 54% last year. And so we'll see. So if this year he isn't voted in, he still has a good chance of getting in by the Veterans Committee with Lee Smith and Harold Baines and Alan Trammell getting in. Look, Larry Walker. Then you got Kurt Schilling. So that's going to be interesting. And we'll see what Roger Clemens gets. The ballot is padded with a lot of unqualified names. Last year, I think 16 players fell off the ballot they received. It's ridiculous. Ted Lilly, Travis Hafner, John Garland. Okay, those are the guys. So head-scratching names on the 2012. Next year, I already got the ballot. Heath Bell, Joan Figgins, Brad Penny, Carlos Pena, Jose Valverde. Okay, anybody think they belong on the Hall of Fame ballot? On the Hall of Fame ballot, okay? Gil Hodges should be in. Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. Gil Hodges should be in. There's no question about it. Maury Wills should be in the Hall of Fame. The man who revolutionized not just the game with his speed. Prior to Maury Wills coming in, I mean, if you got 29 stolen bases, Willie Mays, Richie Ashburn, those kind of guys, they used to lead the league. Then Aparicio came in and changed the game. He's in the Hall of Fame, but Maury Wills, not only did he change the game, but Maury Wills changed how we watch the game. When Maury Wills got on first base, we got the split camera where you got the pitcher and the runner on first. So Cody Ransom didn't make the ballot. Chris Ransom did, because of his show that's on Wednesday night right here on the Legends Sports Network. Okay, so anyway, I don't want to get into a whole thing. Anybody think that Derek Jeter is going to be a unanimous Hall of Fame? I don't think so. I don't think he's going to be unanimous. And I don't think he deserves to be unanimous. I don't think if he was on the Yankees, I don't know. I don't know if Derek Jeter would be on the and Sammy Sosa will be on the ballot for the 8th time. He got, 8.5% of the vote last year. So Derek Jeter could be the second player named on every ballot. Last year, Mariano Rivera was named on 100% of the ballots, okay? So that's just a little bit of the Hall of Fame thing, all right? Before I continue with, the nitty and the gritty and talking about Akiyama and J.R. Matz, and how J.R. Matz was instrumental in getting Akiyama to sign with Cincinnati. I will talk about keepers. If you're in a keeper league, there's one thing in a keeper league when you're preparing to sort out your keepers. There is one thing that very few, if any, people take a look at. That's right. Hard to believe. There's one thing that very few, or I don't know if anybody does. And if you do it, then you're as good as Doug Boyle. Thank you very much, Doug. Malpal is here. Good morning, Malpal. Nice to see you. Just looking at your picture that we took it. J.R. Matz is excited about Akiyama. Somebody get a doctor to J.R. Matz, okay? He's excited about Akiyama. I'm trying to think of the Mets Japanese outfielder that everybody was going crazy for. I'll think of that somewhere down the road. But anyway, here's the thing about keepers, okay? Oh, yeah, that's right. He played for Shinjo. Is his name Shinjo? Kiyoshi Shinjo. Didn't he play for the Mets? Everybody thought that he would be so good. Everybody thought that Shinjo would be so good. I think that's his name. I'm not even sure, okay? I know they had Kaz Matsui for a little bit, but there was an outfielder who played for the Mets, and I can't think of his name. I think it was Kiyoshi Shinjo, okay? So we'll see about that. But anyway, when you're preparing your keepers, what do? All right, you take a look and you see the dollar values. If it's an auction league, you'll see who's who is priced properly, who is not priced properly. You'll take a look and you'll see the players that you think are going to improve. You'll see the players that you think you need, you want, but you don't. Okay, you don't ever do the following. And here's what you must do. If you're in a keeper league, you have to go through every roster on every team. And you have to make an educated guess on who they'll be keeping. And here's the reason why. After you make that educated guess on who they'll be keeping, and of course, in an auction league, it's much easier. There are very obvious players based upon the deflated prices. But in snake draft, a little bit more difficult. But either way, what you have to do is then you take the keepers, you make a list of every player that's going to be drafted. You got to do this. You should do this in conjunction with what we talked about yesterday, with how to do the auction values. You should always have a list of every player that'll be drafted by position, first base, second base, and so on. Then you circle the keepers in every position. And then you can take a look and say, holy, Big Al on the prowl. If I don't keep this shortstop, I'm not going to get somebody in the draft. You may wind up keeping a better player who's an outfielder if there are plenty of outfielders available. All right, so you may keep that shortstop who's not as good as the outfielder because there's plenty of outfielders available, but there may not be a decent shortstop for you to get, okay? So you may have to go and keep the lesser player who is a shortstop, okay? You follow me? It's all about scarcity of position. We all talk about scarcity. The scarcity of position you can't tell what it is until the draft starts. You got that? Because in a snake draft, you can take them anytime you want, so there's no scarcity. But the point is, for keepers, when you choose your keepers, one of the things that most, I'll say 99.5% never use is the fact that you want to see where the shortage of position is by making an educated guess as to who you feel will be kept. Everybody got that? Does anybody do that, by the way? That's an interesting question. Does anybody do it? That's what I want to know. All right, so where were we 10 years ago? The beginning, right? It's the beginning. It's the beginning. We'll get to that in a little bit. All right, a couple of rumors that are floating around now. The Rangers, who've already traded Nomar Mazara, they could be in the market. All right, look, they got Willie Calhoun, they got Joey Gallo, they got Danny Santana. Texas, of course, is the front runner now for Marcell Ozuna, who had that breakout season in 2017 with 37 home runs. Solid numbers, but they haven't been anywhere near his numbers for 2017. But still, Texas could sign Ozuna. So Texas is the number one contender to get Ozuna, and they're even looking at Nick Castellanos, okay? But Ozuna's the guy they want. Now, of course, as I told you the other day, there's some seriousness now. If the Braves don't get Josh Donaldson, they're going to go after Nolan Arenado. And I don't think, look, I'll say it again. You can read this bull dinky and poppycock all day long. The Braves may be the only team has a chance to get Arenado. The only team. The only way that Arenado's going to be traded and Mookie Betts will be traded, and who's the other guy? They got Betts and Francisco Lindor, is if you blow them away. Blow them away. And Atlanta, with its great farm system of pitching, young pitchers, they can blow. When's the last time you were blown away? That's my question. Now, if I take away the word away, that could be a very interesting question, but I'm not going to do that. Atlanta would be an ideal trade partner for Colorado. Ideal. They have highly ranked prospects to fill the biggest weakness that Colorado has, and among them is pitching. Pitching. And you know that Colorado, the Rockies' philosophy on pitching is very simple. They don't want, and they have not had good success. Not had good success with a veteran. I'll call them veteran pitchers. They have not had good success on pitchers who have major league experience. Let's put it that way. All right, let's say that. They don't have that great of success. But, okay, they have had success bringing in young pitchers and giving them a year or two of instruction as to how to pitch in high altitude. Now, you take a look at the Braves to get Nolan Arenado. What do you think? You take a look at the Braves to get Nolan Arenado. What? So they need pitching, they need catching, and they need a center fielder. Those are the three things that the Rockies. I'm telling you, the Braves are the only team. The only team. I mean, you want an outfielder? Would you think the Braves would give away Christian Pache, Drew Waters? Yeah, they'd give away one of them. You think they'd give away Shea Langoliers? Everybody ever hear of Shea Langoliers? Excellent catcher. Anybody here with William Contreras? Excellent catcher. They could give away one of those. Anybody here with Ian Anderson? Kyle Muller? Kyle Wright? Bryce Wilson? Giselle De La Cruz? Anybody ever hear of those guys? They could give away two. A package of Pache, or whatever his name is, or Waters, Pache or Waters, either Langoliers or Contreras, and a combination of two with Ian Anderson, Kyle Muller, Kyle Wright, Bryce Wilson, or even this kid De La Cruz. I don't think there's anybody else in any other team in Major League Baseball capable of offering that for Arenado, and I don't think they could. I don't think that they could pass that up. But still, it's a long shot. Good morning to Zelmo. Phil Chaplin is here, and good morning to guest Blanche. That's it. Making those almonds. You know, we make the donuts at night. Blanche is those almonds in the morning. Okay. Ian Anderson. That was Lars Anderson, wasn't it? Didn't he manage Cody Rhodes? Yeah. Ian Anderson. All right. So anyway, that's my That's my take on that. There's a possibility Arenado could go. Also, as to what I just said, also John Morosi just reports that he thinks that Castellanos could go to Texas. Well, you know what? This is great because it gives all the stupid talk show hosts around the country something to talk about. If those guys, if Castellanos and Lindor and Ozuna signed now, at the winter meetings last year, it was reported that they had nothing to talk about, so they made up shit. They really did. If Castellanos and Ozuna sign now, I got to tell you something. They got a big problem on the radio. Big problem. You're going to hear stuff like I'm going to do today. All right. And as far as Lindor goes, look, they traded Kluber, but I take the position that Lindor is not going to be traded. I think Cleveland understands that with a couple of smart moves, they can actually have a better team without Corey Kluber. All right, then you got, of course, we're waiting for Josh Hader, David Price. I talked yesterday. I made that prediction that David Price is going to be on the St. Louis Cardinals. You can X that in your kitchen table, and I would love to have some love and kisses if that happens, okay? That happens. Also reports that Tampa looks like they could trade Charlie Morton. All right, so that takes care of a little bit of the trade rumors that are going around. A little bit of the trade rumors. Talked about the keepers. Now, we just had a run of left-handed hitting outfielders. Big run of that Calhoun, Dickerson, Akiyama. Okay, and I'll talk about Akiyama right now. When do we get the run of right-handed hitting? As a run, it's all lefties. Calhoun, Dickerson, and Akiyama, right? Now we have Castellanos, Ozuna, and Puig. It's going to be interesting. Now, the Reds wanted a left-handed hitting outfielder, and they wanted to improve their on-base percentage. They needed some speed, and what they get? Bingo! They got Shogo Akiyama. Who would have thought that comes the beginning of 2020 that the big name in Major League Baseball would be Shogo Akiyama? Who would have thought that? Okay? So, look, they have a true center fielder defensively. And, of course, and also he could play every position. So it's almost kind of a backup to Nick Senzel, who, although he's a good player, he's got a terrible injury history. Okay? So, all right, they added already Moustakas. They added Wade Miley. They may be the most improved. I mean, it's head and shoulders the most improved team in the National League Central. And there's a couple of others that went backwards. I mean, Pittsburgh hasn't done anything. St. Louis is kind of blah. You could say that with the loss of Ozuna, they are not as good. Milwaukee, I mean, it's a little confusing what they've done, but they haven't done anything spectacular. And Chicago absolutely is going backwards, and they're thinking of even trading Chris Bryant. So Cincinnati, baby, J.R. Matz, I'm coming to visit you. We're going to watch TV and eat popcorn, with the whole family, okay? So bidding for Akiyama reached over $20 million, okay? He is someone who can hit at the top of the order, great on-base percentage. He can play all three outfield spots. He's not only a center fielder. They wanted to improve their outfield defense this year, and they're doing it, okay? But keep in mind, this could be the classic case. He's 32 years old. He had a .303 batting average and a .390-something on-base percentage in Japan. But remember, this is a classic case. We're talking about this guy as if he's a Holy Toledo or something, all right? Make sure we don't overpay. He is the best player in Major League Baseball right now at the end of December. He's the best because he's the headline player in the month of December. Don't mistake that for being a headline player at your draft. We make that mistake all the freaking time. not the headline player. He had 20 homers. He had over 30 doubles and over 60 RBIs in almost 600 at-bats. He had 12 stolen bases. But listen to this, 12 for 20. That is not good. He was 12 for 20. He's a left-handed hitter. He's got a 370 on-base percentage for his career. He played center field, but many scouts prefer him as a corner outfielder because he's 32. Bull dinky, okay? All right, so the Reds ranked 12th among 15 National League teams in on-base percentage. That's why they got him. And even though they hit a franchise record 227 home runs, there was nobody on base, okay? They got a lot of upside in their outfield. Senzel, Winker, Aquino, remember him? Philip Ervin. Look at this, man. That's pretty good. Senzel, Winker. I like Winker. Aquino, Philip Ervin. But none of them have a long track record. Okay? And Senzel and Winker both had their seasons cut short because of injuries. So that's pretty good. We know that the Padres were after him as well. And Cincinnati. All right, here's a question for J.R. Matz. Who is the only other Japanese player in the history of the Cincinnati Reds? Come on, J.R. Matz. The only other Japanese player in the history of the Cincinnati Reds. You want to give that a shot? I rarely direct questions to individuals only, but that's my question to J.R. Matz, because J.R. Matz is a Cincinnati product, okay? Who is the only other Japanese player ever to play for the Cincinnati Reds? Let's see how good you are, okay? As J.R. Matz is quickly thinking and maybe even Googling it. I don't know. Google. What would we do without Google? Doug Boyle has the answer. Let's see what Doug says. All right, back to the business. This is cool, man. This is really, really cool. All right, let's get back to it. So the Reds looking to add another arm to the bullpen. And there's no question that Akiyama is going to be tested. He's going to get significant playing time. Top of the order, Jesse Winker is a lefty. He has really done well against right-handed pitching, batting .307. Utility man Josh Van Meter spent time. He's a left-handed hitter. And so we'll see what happens, okay? Not going to go too much on this because that's what it is. Senzel is still the center fielder, okay? All right, and with Moustakas signing at second base, that puts that really helps. Now, Senzel could play a major role in, he's played all over the outfield, and he spelled the primary infielders. But that's not the best way to bring up a 24-year-old player who was not long ago a top 10 overall MLB prospect. I don't think so. So, all right, so there you go. So Nick Senzel is going to be a big player this year as well. Okay, got that. And I'd love to see the Reds go after Francisco Lindor. All right, the answer to the question, J.R. Matz, in case you haven't put the answer in the chat room. Not ringing a bell, not going to cheat, because there never has been a Japanese player for the Cincinnati Reds. Never. Mike Lum, they named a restaurant after him. But still, never has been a Japanese player. Got you on that, JR, but at least you didn't cheat. There you go. White Sox Al is here. Good morning. So, good to see the White Sox Al. As we continue right along with Major League Baseball at its best in 1982. Remember that? Ricky Henderson stole third base 34 times, George. You got that? In 2019, the entire National League West combined to steal third base 28 times. How about that one? And Pablo Sandoval and Brandon Belt have hit more career home runs as a left-hander at AT&T than Bonds did in his 2001 season alone. Only Pablo Sandoval and Brad Belt. Now it sounds a little better. Have hit more career home runs as a left-hander at AT&T Oracle Park than Bonds did in his 2001 season alone. He had 37 home runs in 2001, did Bonds. No other left-hander has hit more than 12 home runs in a season at that ballpark. Nobody else. You know, a lot of sites are doing a lot of stuff about the decade. About the decade. I got some decade stuff. Complete game shutouts in the last decade. Name the leaders of complete game shutouts. That's 9-inning shutouts in the last decade. The number is 8, but name a couple of players who you think. There's 4 players who have 8 shutouts in the last decade. And who is the only player in the last decade with 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases, and a 400 on-base percentage? Okay? I'll let you linger on those before I got a good one. Max Scherzer, 10 complete games during the last decade. Do you know who else tossed 10 complete games in the 2010s? So you got 3 questions. Complete game shutouts, I'll give you the answer to that. Johnny Cueto, Felix Hernandez, Cliff Lee, and Jason Vargas. They all had 8. How about that one? The only player in the last decade with 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases, and a 400 on-base percentage. Come on, everybody. Yeah, Jason Vargas was Mike Trout. Okay? That's right. You all got that one. Yeah, that's right. Mike Trout. Now, who was the only player in the 50s who had those numbers? Let's see. Oh, everybody got Mike Trout. Good. Who was the only player in the 50s to hit 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases, and 400 on-base percentage? That's a 10-year span. Come on, George, this is yours. It should be Unholy Toledo's. That's your clue. Max Scherzer, 10 complete games during the 2010 to 2020. You know who else tossed 10 complete games during the span? Carlos Pavano. Yeah, that's crazy shit, man. Carlos Pavano. And the answer to the question, I gave you the clue, Unholy Toledo. That means it's a Chicago player with 100 home runs, 100 stolen bases, 400 on-base percentage. Wasn't Mays. It wasn't Mays. It was a Chicago player. So you got White Sox Al, Unholy Toledo, and we always have George for that. And somehow Doug Boyle always gets the answer, right? And you're not going to get the answer because it was Minnie Minoso. It was Minnie Minoso. Ray, good guess, but not 100 stolen bases. Minnie Minoso. Okay, I'm going to call myself Maxie Minoso pretty soon. All right, so let's go. Oh, my goodness gracious. Let us. So what do you want to do next? All right, 10 years ago. Well, let's just go through the decade a little bit, all right? Anybody remember what happened in 2010? It was the season that Jose Bautista led the major leagues in home runs. That was the season that Bautista led the league in home runs by 12. By 12. 12. He beat Albert Pujols, Adam Dunn. He beat Miguel Cabrera. He beat Ryan Braun. And he beat Jason Worth, who was a big player. He beat everybody at the age of 29. And he came out of nowhere. He was a busted prospect for the Pirates. Turned himself into one of the game's biggest sluggers. That was in 2010. In 2010, it was a season, if you remember, 7 no-hitters. Now, in 1990 and 1969, 6 was the tops, and then 7 no-hitters in 2010. How about that? It was the season that the Minnesota Twins won the American League Central by 6 games. 6 games, despite losing their star. Does anybody remember who their star was halfway through the season? The Twins were 49-31. They were in second place. They lost their star player and then went 49-29. Now, that was 10 years ago, okay? It was a great effort by Jim Thome, carried the entire offense. But who was the player that the Minnesota Twins lost in the middle of the season and then went on to win it? Wasn't Killebrew. Wasn't Mauer. Oh, yeah. Now you're stumped. Wasn't Killebrew. Wasn't Mauer. Now, where do we go from there? All right? Where do we go from there? If it's not Killebrew and it's not Mauer, who could it be? George had a no-hitter in his bedroom last night, all right? Wasn't Liriano. There you go. How quickly we forget. Joe from Staten Island, that's Galena. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the bright stars in the industry. Joe from Staten Island is with us, and good morning to Joe. And that is Joe Galena. I'm sure you all listen to him on the Fantasy Sports Network, and there he is. So we got some. So yeah, that's right. Ray gets it. Good luck to Ray. It was Justin Morneau. Justin Morneau. Unbelievable how quickly we forget Justin Morneau. Yeah, he was the guy. He was their best player. Got hurt in the middle of the season. And then what happens? They went on and they have a great year. And they win it. Justin Morneau. All right, so I'm going to keep going with this. I remember a lot. Yeah, Justin Morneau. They lost him halfway through the year. The Tampa Rays. Anybody remember this? 2010, they beat the Yankees and the Red Sox to win the American League East. Okay? They did it in 2008. Tampa's not a bad team. Okay? And once again, they beat the Yankees and the Red Sox. Okay? Unbelievable. The Padres won 90 games. They took their playoff chances down to the final day, despite having the second lowest payroll. Nothing changes. Nothing changes. They were projected to finish last. Instead, held on to first place much of the summer. And then the Giants caught fire. Okay? If you remember, baseball it copies itself. They were predicted to trade Adrian Gonzalez, but they didn't. Okay? They didn't because they were so close to winning. And that's the dilemma that's faced with, especially Cleveland. If they hold on to Lindor and they're a couple of games out of first place as the trade deadline rolls around, how are they going to trade him? But this is baseball. You gotta go to win. Nobody knows what's going to happen next year. And Cincinnati, in honor of J.R. Matz. Remember, 2010, the Reds pulled away from the Cardinals. They won the National League Central by a lot of games. And prior to the year, the Cardinals, they were expected to dominate, right? Expected to dominate. So the Cardinals had a terrible year, and Joey Votto was an MVP candidate. So there you go. It was the Mariners, another losing season. The Mariners lost 101 games. And this is all right. Now listen, here we're talking about the White Sox and all these teams that load up. In 2010, the Mariners added Cliff Lee, Chum Frigas, and Milton Bradley. They were the darlings of the media. They had a lot of people pick them as favorites of the American League West. Instead, their season was a disaster. Unbelievable. And they lost 101 games. Look out, all you Chicago White Sox fans. Right? So they scored 500, just over 500 runs. That's pretty big. That's pretty big. Also, some of the things that happened. Daniel Nava, remember him? He had a grand slam in his first ever Major League plate appearance. That's fun. And Jason Hayward homered in his first ever Major League plate appearance. And still, because of that, okay, we still think Jason Hayward's going to be a great player. Steven Strasburg comes up in his first Major League plate appearance and strikes out 14. And he was hyped more than any. Strasburg drew sellouts in college, in the minor leagues, and even in the Arizona Fall League. He's the guy that he wore a jacket. It was 150 degrees, and he wore a jacket since you couldn't see his name or his number. Because everybody crowded it, and I was one of them. Everybody wanted a piece of Steven Strasburg. Okay? Aroldis Chapman threw a pitch 105 miles an hour. Okay? Oh, man. That's right. Now everybody's throwing 105 miles an hour. It was 2010. Brandon Wood had arguably the worst offensive year of all time. He took over for Joan Figgins. He started at first, and by the end of it all, he'd become to the plate 20 to 240-something times, 33 hits, reached base 41 times. He hit 146. And it's called one of the worst seasons ever in Major League Baseball. Roy Halladay and Tim Lincecum were the shining stars in the playoffs. And it was the season the Giants won the World Series. Okay? Not with Bonds, but with Lincecum, Buster Posey, and Matt Cain. Remember all this? Aubrey Huff, Cody Ross, Edgar Renteria. This is all happened 10 years ago. What's going to happen 10 years from now? Whew! I will tell you some of my predictions, some of my gut feelings. And it's not even gut feelings, okay? These are, I'll call them bold predictions. I'll call them my bold predictions. And then I want to thank everybody and sincerely say, this year has been one of my best personally, and Andrea and I love you. We thank you all. I come here every morning. I see Big Al. I see Dale. I see Doug, George. Thanks for Joe from Staten Island, J.R. Matz, Leonard Donaldson, who drove a little while just to shake hands, Malpal, Phil, Ray K, Unholy Toledo, White Sox, Al Zomo. I cannot tell you how much I love you and how much I appreciate you. And I wish you all a tremendous New Year. And New Year's from here to Kingdom Come. All right? You deserve it. You support me. And believe me when I tell you, my phone number right here on the page, I want to support you. And unlike everybody else, and I'm going to say it, all right, I will not ever charge you for this shit. I may charge you for other shit. I may have to charge you if we do something special. But you know what? You call me on my phone, and it's not that I know more than you. It's just sometimes we want a second opinion, and that's what we get. All right, here are some of my bold predictions, and I'll go division by division. I will say this is the last year that, and Andrea made this prediction years ago about the Washington Nationals. I'll say it's the last year that the Miami Marlins will be doormats. I say that it's the last year that the New York Mets will not be referred to as a super team. Once Steve Cohen and his money comes in, I got to tell you, they are going to spend more money, salary. They're going to make it a big deal in New York for the New York Mets. In the National League, I do predict this year that the Cincinnati Reds will win the division. Okay, that's for sure. I do predict that the St. Louis Cardinals, and I'll go back on their prediction, will wind up with David Price. Okay, how about that one? I will say that the team of the decade is going to be the San Diego Padres in this division. I don't see anything that will change my mind about that one. Going over to the American League. As I see, I'm just running through I'm just running through the rosters now. I think the Toronto Blue Jays are going to challenge the Red Sox and the Yankees for the team of the decade in the Central Division of the in the Eastern Division of the American League. I do believe that the White Sox are going to be there, and they're going to be the team. I think that not just the White Sox, but I'm going to say, as I've said before, Eloy Jimenez will be a top 3 player in Major League Baseball. Eloy Jimenez, top 3 player, Major League Baseball. And finally, out west, and I'm just running through the lineups here on Sandlot Shrink. That's the site that I use. I think that the Houston Astros are going to be annihilated as a result of this scandal that they have, with the tipping the pitches. And I think the Astros are going to be in a tremendous amount of trouble. And I see the team of the decade in the American League West to be the Oakland Athletics. And among them, really do believe that Sean Manaea is going to be an all-star pitcher. Sean Manaea. They got A.J. Puck, Jesus Luzardo. This is the team of the decade in the American League. Sincere thank you once again to all of you. Not sure what the schedule is for the rest of the day, but I will tell you that we're all just day to day, Ray. You're absolutely right. Big Al, I love you sincerely. We're going to see you. He lives out on Long Island. Dale, out in Chicago, in Ohio, I believe. We'll see. We're going to go visit you all again. Doug Boyle, down in Florida. We'll see you in February. George, I gave you my phone number. It's on the, I'll put it up again, okay? If you can, anytime during the day. Anybody want to call anytime during the day? Today's Happy New Year Day. Joe Galena, you know how much I love you, Joe. See you in Staten Island. J.R. Matz, nice to meet you this year. Same thing with Leonard Donaldson. Same thing with Malpal. Same thing with Phil. Same thing with Nonoli Toledo. Saw Zelmo last year. Saw White Sox Al. And Ray, I'm going to see you too, Ray. Thanks, everybody. Okay, great to see you. Hopefully we'll be in tonight, okay? Tonight at 10, we got a big, oh yeah, there you go. We have a big, Phil Chaplin's going to be on tonight. Just come on, man. Just support everybody. These are the greatest people to me in fantasy baseball. People talk about the glory. They talk about the money. I talk about the people. And Andy and I found out yesterday we will be back on Sirius Radio. Sunday, 7 to 10. Sirius Radio. Sincerely from both of us. Andy couldn't make it today. She's mowing the lawn. And we'll speak to you again on Monday. Love you, everybody. Thanks.